Hello, welcome to another Gundam Battle Operation 2 video. That is the Gyan, and I got another buffed or scuffed here for you. If you guys don't know what that series is, basically I take a look at older suits or suits that were struggling that recently got buffed in the most recent unit adjustments. And usually I pick one or two, maybe even three if I feel like it. I haven't done that yet, but yeah, I definitely wanted to take a look at the Gyan here because yeah, the Gyan is definitely a pretty awkward suit. It's one of those suits that it's really great in one area, but a lot of people kind of struggle picking it because it is so melee oriented, and it kind of struggles trying to approach people. Now they did alleviate this a little bit with a previous buff, where its previous buff actually has it to where the stun accumulation on the missiles actually, I think they changed it to where it takes 13 hits to stun. But still, it didn't really seem to help the Gyan that much looking at the reference data, which I will go over here in a second. You also have mines, which are rapid fire, but they're slow, and you can risk hitting yourself and stunning yourself. So, yeah. And I got one match here for you today. It might be two, depending on how long I talk. This first match is me at no, my bad, it's at 600. And I'm using a 550 Gyan. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, let's go ahead and go over the reference data that the Gyan has right now that came from the unit adjustments. The 400 Gyan has a 46% win rate. The 450 has a 44%. The 500 has a 43%. And surprisingly, the 550 raid they did better than both the 450 and 500 Gyans. It has a 44.4% win rate, with the 450 having 44.1 and the 500 having 43%. So I'm not sure if this is because the suit just came out, or if we're having a Gabera Tetra situation where, if you guys don't know, the Gabera Tetra, you don't see a whole lot of it at its main cost at 550. But you see a lot of Gabera Tetras at higher cost because it gets a bunch of part slots and it gets increased stats, and it actually becomes a pretty scary suit at those costs. So I'm not sure if that's what's happening at 550, but you know what? I think I can attribute that maybe to that happening, because at 550 you do help alleviate one of the Gyan's biggest problems, is it having pretty poor leg health. Yeah, I slapped a level 3 leg part on this Gyan, and I also just still dumped melee into it. So, hey, you know what? I don't get stopped as easily, especially now with some of these skills that it got given, or yeah, actually skills. But yeah, let's go over what they actually buffed about the Gyan. First of all, they buffed the health. The health was 15,500. Now it's 16,500, and of course that's just level 1. They do say that of course at the higher levels that will increase as well. And you can see right here, I actually have I believe that's 21,000, 22,000 health. So yeah, that's a pretty good, decent chunk of health there. They also increased the turning speed, I believe that is. They say maneuver, but I think that's turning speed. It increased from 66 to 72. And usually I see a lot of game players actually do put turning speed on, because you can actually steer your downswing quite well with it. I say finally, we actually have more skills after this, but yeah, another unit skill is that they actually made the dodge roll from a level 1 to a level 2 dodge roll. That's actually quite helpful for something like the Gyan. That way you can stay in a fight even more. Usually what happens when a Gyan just jumps into a fray, people will stun it, and they'll get close for a melee. Oh, hey, Gyan did a dodge roll? Okay, well, we're just going to go ahead and firing squad that motherfucker until he's dead, so... Or, he'll get tackled multiple times in a row, or, clash with... Basically, the Gyan gets dunzoed if it tackles or does another dodge roll, right? I mean, it still gets dunzoed when it's tackled, but yeah, at least when it does a dodge roll. But yeah, it gets a double dodge roll, and of course that allows you to bait people, actually. That way you can, let's say you, in a situation where you have to dodge roll, hey, you still have a little bit of thruster gauge left, so you can avoid another shot or do another another dodge roll. Or if somebody comes up to melee you, you can tackle them. You bait them into them swinging at you, and you tackle them. So there you go, and you get a lot of counter damage from the Gyan as well, like over 3,000 easy on a lot of suits, or close to. So yeah, double dodge roll is quite helpful. And finally, I say finally, there's actually two more. The assault booster on level 2, the assault booster level 2 on, actually, okay, no, I'm reading, almost read it wrong. The higher levels, I believe here, the level 3 and level 4 Gyan, their assault booster level 2 increased to assault booster level 3. That is a skill that all the raids got ever since it was a raid buff back then, where they get the skill assault booster, and basically what would happen is you would have a support camping on top of a building, and it was very hard for raids to chase it because supports would just insta-stun them off the cliff, right? But now this one makes it to where you can absorb stuns while you're jumping in the air. And of course, I believe that makes it to where you can absorb even more while you're, I think even stun accumulations, but basically you can absorb even more while you're boosting up there. And yeah, that's a helpful for the higher cost because, you know, there's more suits with instant stuns, so yeah, definitely more helpful. And finally, now we're on the finally here. Finally, they actually gave the shield a buffer. If you guys don't know, the Gyan, it carries that shield, but it's not actually a shield. So that way, you know this whole thing that's not integral to the Gyan working as a machine, if you got shot there, you took full damage. So they actually gave this a buffer, and it starts off with the level 1. I believe the level 1 gets a 15%, yeah, the special L, which stands for left arm equipment buffer level 2. I believe that is 15% less damage when you get shot there. And since I'm using the level 4 Gyan, the level 4 Gyan gets a special arm equipment buffer level 4, which is 35% less damage when you're hitting the shield. That's a pretty big damage reduction, and especially if you have something like a bunch of melee resistance or a bunch of beam resistance or ballistic, either of those, you're taking even less damage. That helps the Gyan a lot in tanking damage. However, although it sounds really good, there's a lot of situations where some people just aim for the Gyan's legs anyway, because, you know, people know the Gyan has weak legs. And of course, a thing you can probably do to help with that, it kind of makes it to where you can kind of sort of approach with your missiles again, because you know, you do hold the shield out in front of you, so that can help you if, you know, if somebody's aiming mid at you. You know, they're not aiming lower, they're aiming around your mid area. That can help absorb some damage. And yeah, I believe that's it for what they buffed on the Gyan. Now, to answer the question, is it buffed or scuffed? I think I'm going to say it's buffed, but I don't think it tackles the issue the Gyan has. Did I say Gyan? It sounded like I added an extra G in there. Gyan, yeah, it doesn't really tackle the issue the Gyan has. And by the way, timeout, mission completed, and we'll see what we got going on here with the 550 Gyan at 600. Yeah, I got shot at the most. That's pretty obvious, you know, Gyan at 600. And we'll see. Hey, second place, 5 and 2, almost 100k damage. It's not hard getting damage off of the Gyan. And depending on how long I talk, there's probably going to be a 450 match after this, so get ready to see me get bullied some more. I have mentioned before I'm not a good raid player, and then you have a suit that's almost just strictly melee oriented, then yeah, I'm going to struggle a lot. But a good thing is I don't base my my thoughts on these suits just on my gameplay alone. I base it on some what I've seen from other Gyans, and of course Honey, you know, one of the people we play with, Honey Smacks, he also really loves playing the Gyan. So, you know, got some stuff out of him regarding the Gyan. But yeah, one of the issues I think the Gyan has, a major issue, is that it has trouble trying to get a stun while approaching. Now, I mentioned earlier they did try to relieve that by a previous buff where they made it to where the stun accumulation of the missiles was, I think it takes 13 shots to stun. However, it's still pretty awkward trying to get a stun with those missiles because they do have a weird firing arc. They do have a small, very small AoE explosion radius to try and help with that. I think what needs to happen here is they probably have to change how those missiles work. Either give it like maybe ASL to make it easier to hit, or maybe make the AoE a lot bigger since they are missiles. One of those I think would actually help the Gyan out a lot in trying to get a stun quicker, or at least try to. Maybe make the firing rate faster. Maybe that can help. Something like that. Another issue that I think plagues the Gyan is not having force injectors at high cost. I think this should be a buff for high cost only. Lower cost, probably not. A thing that happens when a Gyan, wants to get you is they'll have their melee out and they'll boost towards you. They're either trying to bait you tackling or doing a dodge roll or boosting to the side. One of those things you can do. Like I said, you can boost to the side. The Gyan has a very, very narrow melee pattern. I have no idea why they make all the melee fencing attacks. I mean, I get it because Makuve, but at the same time, my character is not Makuve. I should have a regular side swing. But, all of your attacks are pretty much just straightforward. So it's really, really easy for a suit to just boost to the side and avoid it. I think your neutral swing has like the most horizontal range to it, and it's still very narrow. So I think what should happen is if you get force injectors, that way you can correct yourself and try to fight the enemy. What can happen is if they boost to the side, oh hey, well I'll boost to the side and melee you, or if they boost past you, hey, I'll boost back and I'll try to hit you again. You have situations like that I think would really help out the Gyan. So I think to answer the question, buffed or scuffed, again, I think it most certainly is buffed. A double dodge roll is really nice to have, especially on a 400 suit. I think it's 400. Yeah, 400. Sorry, it's just I'm so used to seeing Gyans like 450 rather than 400. I don't know why, but 400 skill. Double dodge roll 400 is pretty good. And of course the buffers, the higher that is, that's really good. 35% less damage from getting shot in the shield area. That's pretty nice. And I think the Gyan has a high level maneuver armor where it will take less damage while boosting, so that can be 45% if you get hit in the shield. That's less likely, of course, but still, that's almost a 50% damage reduction if you manage to get hit there while boosting, which is quite nice. But yeah, I think it still doesn't tackle the problem of the Gyan having a hard time approaching people with a stun. And of course, they try to make this a team game. They probably expect you to be working with your team, but of course, there's situations where it's not going to be as reliable as just another raid at high cost, just popping somebody with an instant stun and going off with a melee attack. Funnily enough, I think in that 550 match there was a heavy attack raid, and I think I did better than the heavy attack raid. Well, I mean, to be fair, the Gyan's melee is basically every swing's a heavy attack on its own. Again, if I had to change anything on the Gyan, I would not change the melee. The melee is fine on this suit. Don't touch the melee. Touch stun accumulation. Touch other skills on the suit. Touch the missile pods. Touch the just anything to help it approach. And it's kind of weird I'm talking about the Gyan here because they also did this with the Char's Gelgoog. The Char's Gelgoog just came out. I say just came out. I believe it's been a month or two, maybe even more. It's very recent. And this suit's already struggling. And everybody knows why it struggles is because it doesn't have an instant stun. Or it doesn't have a very good stun accumulation. And they decided to do the same thing with the Char's Gelgoog where they didn't buff. They gave it some nice stuff like thruster increase and speed increase, health, and leg buffer increases. But it's still doo-doo at trying to get close to people. So, yeah. Don't know why they did that. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe if you want. I'd really appreciate it. And, type up in the, type up in the comment section how you feel about the Gyan. Do you like it? Do you hate it? And I do like the Gyan. I like it design-wise. I do like how in this game it's just... I mean, I like how it is, but I also don't like how it is, if that makes any sense. The way it just comes up to somebody and does 7k damage on a downswing. There are really good uses for the suit if you want somebody dead really fast. The thing has no issues trying to take out a support at close range. But yeah, it's just when it comes to the rest of the game, the Gyan, I think, struggles a lot. So we'll probably see a slight increase in the win rate of the Gyan because of those choices. Because again, the double dodge roll and the buffers will help it in surviving more, especially in a battlefield with more than one opponent. The Gyan can just try and get out of there a lot better. But again, approaching somebody, it's still gonna have a hard time. But yeah, and let me know if there's some other suits you want me to take a look at. Doesn't have to be for buffed or scuffed. I think I am taking a look at the high mobility late type Zaku. That thing actually got balancer finally, and I think I might take a look at. I think there's maybe the not the Zamla, or maybe the gun cannon too. But yeah, that's gonna be it, and I will see you guys later. Bye.